Do you know they're just reboxing all the Stompas that have been, just getting cobwebs in the warehouse?
Yeah. What else were they going to do with them?
I don't know. They can't sell them. Hey guys, welcome to another Lords of War Games and Hobbies video. This is Chris and Jay with you today, and we're gonna talk about kind of like a funny little joke I guess people make, or some people are serious about it, as a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, it's kind of been in the news lately. I've had multiple customers bring it up as something they'd like us to cover. So yeah, feel free to also email us, or it's in the description, with questions or topics that you might want covered. And it has to do with the, bundle boxes that seem or feel like they're full of chaff, or like old products that are just kind of jammed in there. And they're usually mixed in with maybe some more contemporary or brand new models. And it's kind of like, you're like, oh, I really want just this guy, but they've included all this other junk. And it's still a good deal, and it's this type of, thing. And it hasn't really, I think maybe the only reason it's come up, I think anyway, a little bit more often again, or sort of does this kind of controversy, is because of maybe people, newer hobbyists, or people who have only been in the hobby for like a few years, that aren't used to this. They feel like it's almost scandalous. I think Games Workshop's been harnessing this type of product for a long time now, and now we'll get into like whether it's actually them moving cobwebbed models or not. But yeah, it's not I don't know. Just to open up, it's not a new thing. They've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like we were chatting the other day about like the first release of Apocalypse, like in the 2000s, or whatever. Right. And that was a good example of like they just like. Look, every army in 40K, they just like made a massive repackaged bundle box of random things. Look, this is all the tanks that you'll ever need and want in your life for Imperial Guard. Look, it's a full battle company of Space Marines.
Yeah, to tangent briefly on OG or first ed Apocalypse battles, I remember distinctly saying, oh, it's a $70 book just to tell me to play with everything I own. And because there weren't a lot of rules in that book.
No.
So I don't know what this was, like 4th ed 40K, probably 2005 or something, and they released this. Yeah, they were like, great news, everyone! We're gonna give you ways to play.
You're allowed use more than 2,000 points.
To use everything you own in giant battles. And,
just in case you didn't know that already.
So the book I remember, was like it was one of the classic hardback color books, and I wasn't even that big. I remember.
It was like a big, like, size,
like an
thin book. It was like a weird size.
And it had maybe a dozen, like, I think every army got like a few special formations or something. They were trying to tell you, like, if you're an Elder player, they're trying to be like, oh, if you take 6 Falcon tanks and a Fire Prism and you do this formation, you all get this special rule, stuff like that. But distinctly was that whole like, oh, they're just. They could have just released a press release. There was one sentence that said, "Good news, use everything you want, and it's fine." Like that was the sum of it. Anyway, but that spawned the boxes that Chris was talking about. They had waves and waves of. Actually, one of the coolest boxes they did at the time, which they haven't done since, which I wish they brought back, was the transport box with a troop unit in one box. So you could
what do they call those? They had a name, but they were really cool.
Yeah, but you could get like. I don't know. You get like a squad of Dire Avengers and a Wave Stripper.
And there's like the Razorback and the like 5-man tactical. Yeah. Like they were super popular.
They had like one for every. It was like Chimera with a Astro Militarum squad, like Acadian squad.
Yeah, the Armored Fist squad.
Yeah. So there's probably every army that could do that. They had one. Tau. Necrons. Necrons didn't really have.
No, they didn't have a transport.
They didn't have a Ghost Ark at the time, so they weren't going to give you a monolith and some warriors for a deal. That's for sure.
No way.
But that would be cool. They should bring that back. But they would be completely off topic.
So what I think what we were chatting about, what's changed a lot is not necessarily how they've been doing it, but like the frequency. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like all things with Games Workshop, instead of being at a 1, it's at a 10 now, right? Yes. There used to be like once in a while these like crazy Apocalypse boxes come out. That was kind of a new sensation, And then you'd get like, I remember we'd get like, they had like sometimes these like spearheads or vanguards, they used to call them back in the day, which were like pre-release boxes.
Yep.
And then they had mega forces once in a while,
Mega forces,
which were like bigger battle forces.
huge, yeah. Huge
That sometimes would
concept.
have like a special model in them. Like
Yep.
I remember the Empire Fire Wizard being one of the
Yep.
chase models or whatever. And then I want to say it was like that for a long time, and then we moved into this period where we started to have yearly Christmas release boxes
Yep.
as a special thing. And they kind of kept adding and expanding on that. It's at some point it was like maybe like 4.
Yep.
And then more recently it's been like 8, 10, 16. Like
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, they'll do like 8 40K and 6 AOL or something like that. They usually want to offer between 10 and a dozen different boxes like that.
a new invention maybe I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago was this like 2 armies in a box with a new character model that they started releasing alongside army books.
Yeah.
That was when I think I started to feel the ramp up.
Yeah, I'm maybe we have differing opinions. I'm on the side of like I do think there's at least a sprinkling of truth that there is a bit of like let's look at what we have maybe a little bit too much of maybe. Because you look at what's in the boxes and sometimes you just look at them and it really feels like these are units that are maybe haven't been popular for a while or they're maybe not. I'm trying to think of like I don't think Zangors, for example, sold very well, and every Zinch box seems to come packed with some Zangors.
Look at Doomfire Warlocks. I swear to God, every Dark Arzacane release has had Doomfire Warlocks in it.
Yeah, they love shoving them.
And I don't
no
think
one plays.
No one has ever bought a box of Doomfire Warlocks like honestly off the wall.
Yeah, not since
which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And ironically, the new character that's coming out actually makes them better. But
which makes sense that they wrote
because now all these people have all these Doomfire Warlocks.
Yes. Yeah.
So I will not because I've been thinking about this while we've been sitting here a little bit more, and my first pushback to that idea of like, oh yeah, they probably got like models they're sitting around, they're going to repackage them and then try to move them. My first thought is like, okay, well, logistically speaking, like let's say this new Orc box that's coming with a Stomp or whatever. Logistically speaking, like in order just to give every store one across like North America, we're talking like 3,000 boxes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's no way they had that many Stompas just sitting around a warehouse. They would that would just cost much money for them to store. But I think while I've been sitting here and thinking about it, I think what I realized is like, even if they had 300.
Yeah.
Sitting there and like they're looking at the reports and they're like, well, nothing's moving here. We're maybe selling one a month on our web store, which is like embarrassingly low.
Yeah.
The benefit to them financially to free that space up in the warehouse of 300 Stompas, even if they had to print 2,700 more, is still a net positive because they get to sell all 3,000 of them.
Yeah.
Right?
Potentially.
And so sort of think of like looking at it that way. Yeah. That actually does make sense.
Maybe. Yeah. It has
some merits for sure.
Has some merits for sure. Yeah. No, I think you're definitely right on this on the side of like if they only had like 300 on the shelf, like they wouldn't just like suddenly package this box. Like they probably, you're right, they probably don't have 3,000 or 5,000 just sitting there. So they would have to ramp up, actually make some. So I think that definitely probably quashes the idea that they just are shoving excess models into boxes.
Yeah, because I think sometimes people forget how many of these kits get made.
Yeah, they have to make a
like
certain amount.
Right?
Like we've heard some of their different people who've worked for them over the years in the factory say like they don't do anything unless it's going to make like orders of magnitude of money. So it could be $100,000, $200,000 dollars or whatever. They don't do anything. If they do a cost benefit analysis and they're like, well, we'll make 10 G's, they're like, no, we're not doing this. It's a waste of time. So because it has to pay for other things. So. Likely, probably the likely answer is like Chris gave his thought there. I think it's probably a mix of both, and it's probably also something to consider is like the Stompa, for example, or making extras of anything, it's always going to be cheaper because you didn't have to design it again. You just, fire up that mold again, and just make some more, and it's not that bad.
So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that
it's like pure profit basically.
people see it as a deal because the price is usually lower compared to what you'd usually pay for them.
Yep.
But for Games Workshop, even though they're charging less per model than they normally would separately, the profit incentive for them is probably much higher.
Yeah, and in the case of a Stompa, like if we're talking about different generations of Games Workshop customers, it's like Magic or some of these, like there's a new generation every year that's joining the obviously some people leave, but there's another batch of 13, 14-year-old kids jumping in the hobby. Like a Stompa hasn't been like a regular shelf item for some time now. So kind of bringing it back into the fold isn't necessarily a bad idea. And this is a particular example, but I think makes some sense there too. Like why not bring in, it'll feel like a new kit to some of these people who've never seen it, on tables very much. And and as an orc kit, it's very orky. Like it's just a giant scrap metal Walker Titan thing. So I think sometimes for some examples it's easy to trace. Other ones it feels a little egregious, but it depends on what it is. Some of the themed boxes where it's like if you saw a box like that has like I don't know, imagine a Zinch box with like 12 screamers in it or something. Like then you're like, okay, this is a little. This is very themed, very thematic,
very narrow.
It's super narrow,
very narrow.
Yeah, so
and there's also I think a decided effort on their part, and I think they've gotten better at this over the years. Is like they've realized that their window to sell a lot more of something is very narrow a lot of the time. So like orcs, for example, like when they get a refresh, a new codex, they know based on the data they have. We can even see this in the shop, but like. They have maybe a 1 to 3 month window when that new book comes out where people are going to be excited to buy orcs again.
Yep.
More so than normal. Like essentially maybe it's 200, 300, 400% more excited than normal to buy orcs.
Yeah.
And so they've definitely over the last few years made a more concentrated effort to really capitalize on that excitement and turn that and generate that into more sales. So I think these like repackaged abomination boxes that just look like are like a little bit like what is this or whatever. That is that attempt to be like, okay, how much of that new excitement with the new book can we
this is our best chance to move to sell these certain things. Yeah. Now the one thing that I wish they did better is when they they'll write some great rules for a certain unit that they have no stock of. And then people are like Tyranid Biovores or something.
What are those? I haven't seen one in a dog's age.
No, because when they arrive, it starts to like vaporize as soon as I take it out of the packaging. Because someone's going to buy it that day. Yeah. Or that in the next 5 minutes even. I don't know. It's not uncommon. We see this in, again, many other... industries and types of products. It's changed a little bit because of like, for example, with video games, like consoles have been bundling greatest hits games and things for a long time. It's ways to I don't know, make some bucks off your existing stuff.
Look at the new games that come out. What new game doesn't have a bundle edition or whatever? Like they're all bundled. Everything's bundled. It's like
or like, but you could be, imagine if a new Call of Duty's coming, they might put the previous 2 or 3 on mega sale. They're like, oh, maybe this guy will buy them all because he's just so
That's right. He
wants to play for the previous gens. So we'll put them down even as low as I'm always amazed at like the sales of a 15 or 20-year-old video game where they can still get $5-6 from a person, even though it should be $0.
And for them, it's like this is just free found money.
It's free money,
like, really. It is, yeah. So. And I think to some extent, that's what GW's doing with these old like these repackages, these Christmas boxes. It's not free money, but it's a closer thing to that for them because there's no R&D, there's no nothing beyond the production and distribution.
It lets them check that box that they had. A release every week or whatever, in case they were.
See our other video this week. In
case they didn't for some reason, or if they, I I know one thing that has been going on in the last few years is they've had to reorganize their release schedule on the fly in the background. That's also apparently been occurring where you have like something was supposed to come out this week and then it got pushed. So we kind of saw that with Imperialis this year where they had to quickly pivot and shove something else out. So I'm sure they have some of these products on the docket just for that purpose. Where they just like it's an easy slam dunk thing. People will be happy. Now they've probably got, again, and you can, if you watch our other video this week, it touches on that. They probably have too many of these products, so more or less, because like I can't believe we have another, these like AOS Spearhead boxes. Are just like it's a Vanguard, but not called the Vanguard. It's like
exactly right. And I think like that's the last thing we'll touch on in this video is like the knock-on effect to the retailer, which eventually affects the customers too. Is we just end up, because there's so many of these releases, like we find ourselves like not ordering some of them now.
Yeah.
Because like two reasons. Number one is like space is a real issue. Yeah. Like these big box sets take up a ton of space. Yeah. And quite frankly, we don't want to have extra stock of them.
No.
And the second reason is like I don't really see personally the value in having two Combat Patrol like boxes for a particular faction that are very similar.
Yeah. It's not that people buy both. People buy one or the other. There's always like one is slightly better than the other, more in vogue because of rules at the particular given time. And yeah, they kind of cannibalize themselves. It's just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to have both usually. So one gets sold, the other sits, or they both sit because the army's not as like popular for some reason, which is also not good. So it's just another item that we have on the shelf.
And I think what you're seeing over time is like, and this has definitely happened to us, is you see when you go into like your local hobby shop, you kind of see the graveyard of all the old box sets, like big box sets, like whether they're the army release ones, the Christmas boxes, the 2-player army re-releases.
Yeah, it's funny. These things are always seem like such slam dunks when they're being revealed or on sale. And for us, it's like always such it's probably the hardest thing to predict because you're like, well, we could get one and then we're leaving money on the table, or we could even get like 5 and then we only sell 2 and then it's like a loss. It's like they're so difficult to predict how popular they will be. But yeah, stores will always have. Every store has a few of these ones that just can't sell and won't sell because I'm staring at a Raven Guard Marine box
from 2 years ago. Now the good news is eventually inflation makes these a great deal.
Because it's 220 or whatever.
Yeah, it stays at 220.
One is 270.
And then one day the models in there will hit $500. Yeah, and that'll be a real bargain. They're like little stock bonds or whatever. Unfortunately, they take up a lot of space.
Every quarter, I'll bring one of these boxes down. And be like, maybe I need to start this army now. I don't know. Like, eventually.
Anyways, how do you guys feel about particularly the big box sets, the Christmas boxes, the big spearheads, the battle forces, the pre-launch boxes, the 2-player boxes? Do you buy these products? Do you look forward to them? Are you excited about them still? Do you feel like there's too many of them, or do you feel like they cannot make enough of these? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear it. If you like this video and videos like this, give us a like, give us a subscribe so you see our next ones come up. And if you like it a lot, check out our Patreon. We'd really appreciate your support so we can make our channel better and make more of these awesome videos. Until next time, take care.
Thanks. Bye.